Hi, my name is Angie. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, I am a mom to four. I love to homeschool, I love to read books, and that is what I share on this channel. So today's video is a book video. It is a classic one for this time of year. Everybody is making this video. It is the mid-year book freak out tag. And so I'm going to hop on because I have been loving watching everybody's videos. And it's really just a good way to kind of check in on my reading. And the first question is best book you've read so far. So I think this is a really hard question. There's so many. I decided to go with this book. So it's As Bright as Heaven by Susan Meisner. I loved this book. I really did. It's probably partly because of my background as having a PhD in microbiology. I really enjoyed this story because it is a story about the Spanish flu, the 1919 flu, and this is set in Philadelphia, so it's a historical fiction that follows a family that moves into the city and then the flu hits. I thought it definitely had some intense parts where it was talking a lot about the flu and the symptoms of the flu and how scary it was, because it was kind of going house to house to house to house sort of idea. But I thought that was really interesting. But not only did the infectious disease stuff really pull me in, but the family pulled me in. I really, really liked this family. I liked the mom, the dad, the girls. I liked the little boy who was orphaned by the flu, and that storyline was beautiful. And I just really fell in love with this family, and I loved it. I loved the story pretty much from the first page to the last. Next question is the best sequel you've read so far this year. So if anybody's been on my channel, this is an easy one. The Winter of the Witch by Catherine Arden. So this is the third book in the Winter Night series. I loved all three, but I probably liked this one, or the first one, the best. This was so good. It's just basically a series about a girl in Russia who has magical powers. It's set back in the 1700s, and she's just kind of fighting for the magical world that Russians used to believe in before Orthodox Christianity came into play in the country. So it's just so good. Her character's so good. There's a frost demon that I just loved. I thought his character was excellent. So I just really liked this series. So definitely that is my answer. Okay, the third one is a new release that you haven't read yet, but you really want to. So this again is an easy one because I'm hopefully picking this up shortly, like within the next couple weeks. And that is Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. So I read Lock Every Door last month, and I loved it. I thought it was so good, so fast-paced, and I have high hopes for this one, which is also a thriller book. This is about a girl who goes back to her old family home that was haunted. Her dad wrote like a nonfiction book about his experience with the haunting of this house that they left when she was a little girl, and she doesn't believe the stories. She inherits the house and she goes back, and then she tries to fix it up, and I think scary things happen. So I'm up for that. Next on the list is what is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year? So I am so excited for this book. It's called The Devil and the Dark Water. It's by Stuart Turton, who wrote The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, which I loved that book. And I know some people just did not like it, but I thought it was so good. It was so twisty. And this book, I actually haven't read too much about the synopsis. I think it comes out in October or November. It has something to do with a ship. I honestly don't really even have to know what it's about to know I'm gonna pick it up, because I thought his writing style was just so interesting. He kind of just messed with time and different things in ways that was, I feel, kind of unique. And so I anticipate his next book is kind of be like that. So anyway, I already pre-ordered it. I never pre-order books, but I've already pre-ordered it for October. So I'm excited for that. Next question is, what has been your biggest disappointment this year? Okay, this is another easy one. So I picked up The Death of Mrs. Westaway, maybe in March Mystery Madness. And I didn't like it that much. I've heard so many good things about Ruth Ware as a thriller writer, mystery thriller, and I just thought I was gonna love it. And I will give her another chance. I'm not saying that I'm not going to, but I had high hopes and I just didn't like the book. I thought it was a little bit predictable. I thought there were some obvious things that could have been done and said at the beginning that would have, I guess, not made the book, but I didn't like it that much. So I'm gonna try another one of her books, but I didn't like that one. But the next question is, what has been your biggest surprise this year? So that has been this book, which I just recently wrapped up in my latest wrap-up, A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Towles. I just didn't know what to expect going into this book. It's about a man who lives in Russia who gets sentenced to house arrest in this hotel across from the Kremlin, and he lives there for like, I think 40 years, from the 20s to the 60s. And he watches a lot of things unfold in the country, a lot of things happen in the world, and he can't set foot out of the hotel without being shot on sight. He's a person of interest. But his life within the hotel was just really good, and his character was really interesting. It was just a character where I'm just like, I like you. I feel like I could be really good friends, or we could have great conversations, and I just really enjoyed it. It was so well done. It was so well done. So anyway, A Gentleman in Moscow. Okay, next question. Favorite new author, debut or new to you? I couldn't choose. I have literally read so many good books this year since joining BookTube. I feel like BookTube has been such an amazing blessing because I've just found all these books I had no idea about. And so a couple favorite authors, I'm just going to list them because I couldn't pick. So Susan Meisner, like I mentioned, Catherine Arden, Riley Sager, so the ones I've already mentioned, Stuart Turton, Amor Towles, and Nikki French. So I guess all the authors I am mentioning in this tag video. But anyway, those have been some amazing new authors that are pretty much auto-buys at this point until proven otherwise, I guess. But I'm so happy to read all of their books. So next one is, who is your newest fictional crush? I'm 38 years old. I'm just skipping that one. Number 9 is, who is your newest favorite character? So this was a fun one. I almost went with the Count, but I have also really liked the Frida Klein character in the Nikki French series. So this is the first one, Blue Monday. Frida Klein is a psychotherapist, and she helps out the police. And so in this particular book, which is the first in the series, I think there's 8 in that series, she helps out in a kidnapping, and it's just really good. I like the added element of psychology, psychotherapy into criminology, and I thought it just added a really cool twist. And her character is just really fun. She's just kind of very dry and matter of fact, and you almost feel like she just is void of emotion, but you know that that's not the case. And I feel like as the series progresses, you get to know her character more, which I'm all for that. So I'm looking into getting the next one as we speak. So Frida Klein. All right, book that made you cry. All right, I couldn't pick one. I picked 2. So these 2 books both made me cry. So The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna and The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. Both World War II books. World War II is a tough topic, but these were both written in such a wonderful way. This is set kind of from the perspective of a mom who is left behind as her husband goes into the war, and she's protecting her kids, and there's German soldiers and all this plot lines that make just life very, very tough. So there's some hard storylines in here, and then here is based around a girl who loses her family, and she gets placed into a foster care, and then she learns to love books. She learns to love her foster parents. It's a very touching book. So both of these have made me cry. They're both very excellent books. Book that made you happy. So I don't have a copy of this, but this definitely made me happy, was Lab Girl by Hope Jaron. I enjoyed this. This was a memoir, nonfiction book about this woman who went through academia. And so she's a scientist, and the book basically tells her story from learning to love science into getting her PhD, into starting her own lab, into having lab funding problems, all of the things, which I just really enjoyed. Like I said, I have a PhD in immunology, and so I just really related to a lot of her science-y things where she's like, those experiments never work, and things like that, that is just near and dear to my past and my experience. So that book just made me happy. It just made me laugh out loud so many times. So that's that one. And then, what is the most beautiful book you've bought this year? I really did like the Winter Night trilogy copies I picked up. I think they're the UK version, and they're just so pretty and really cool. But I also like this one, which I picked up. It's called Winter House by Ben Gooderson, and it's a middle grade mystery book, and I just thought it was just look really precious. And then there's all these cutouts, and inside is the house, It was just fun. I'm wanting to pre-read it before I read it to my kids, but it has some pictures in it, so it just looks really cute. And so I thought that was beautiful. I liked that style of a book. Okay, let's see. Last question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? I mean, there's lots of books I want to read. I'm not really a need to read sort of person, but I guess if I had to answer this question, I am looking to read more of those science and faith books that I have picked up. So I guess those are more on the need to read, but I just want to read lots of books. I just filmed a haul video of my kind of summer books that I've collected over the last couple months, and so that'll go up after this one, I think. And so there's just so many good ones in there, so, you know, lots of good books. Yeah, that's my mid-year freak out tag video. These are very fun to watch. It's very fun to look back, and I really enjoy watching other people's, because I'm always like, what was your favorite book, or your absolute favorite book so far this year? Because I think that's such a fun question. So please comment with your favorite book so far this year. I think that's a hard question, so I would love to know what that's been for you. And otherwise, thank you for stopping by. Please consider liking the video, subscribing if you like what you see. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video, and have a wonderful day. Okay, bye.